mysterious thing. Experts' views are far from settled, but the arguments are better informed than they've ever been. The journey towards this state of enlightenment began thousands of years ago. The Hebrew Bible represents the starting point for Western understanding of language. Adam, the first man, was given the power to create words. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. Genesis chapter 2, verse 19. Later, when Adam's descendants challenged his power by building the Tower of Babel, God said, "If, as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." Genesis chapter 11, verses 6 to 7. The idea that we all once spoke in the same way is found across cultures. The ancient Greeks thought that there was perfect linguistic unity under Zeus, but then his son Hermes taught humans their many languages, and they began to fight. The Aztecs believed that only one man and one woman survived a great flood in a hollowed-out tree. They had children who were all dumb, until a dove came down and taught each one to speak differently. The sheer variety of languages was obviously a preoccupation. Listening to people say things you can't understand is a uniquely strange and maddening experience. You might be able to interpret emotion and tone, but otherwise it is an undifferentiated mishmash of syllables, and you are frozen out. Mutual incomprehension serves nobody well. It must, therefore, be the result of a mistake or a sin. How much easier would things be if we all understood each other? It makes sense that to speak the same language has become an idiom suggesting recognition, empathy, and cooperation. The many things languages have in common were equally intriguing. Over the centuries, scholars, traders, and conquerors noted similarities among words that could not have been coincidental. An English judge in India, William Jones, made these observations explicit in a famous lecture to the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1786. Jones had identified correspondences between Sanskrit, Greek, and Latin, among other languages, and recognized them as a family, theorizing that they must have evolved from a common ancestor. For example, the Sanskrit for foot is pada. In Latin, it's pes. In ancient Greek, it's pous. These related languages were later given the label Indo-European, and their hypothetical common ancestor named Proto-Indo-European. The Proto-Indo-European for foot is pods. The family includes siblings such as German and Dutch, as well as more distant cousins like Spanish and Nepali. The parents are the older classical languages. But what does it mean for languages to be mothers, sisters, or daughters to one another? Is each one as separate as an individual human being, born at a particular moment in time and in turn giving birth to its own offspring? The family tree analogy is tempting, but obscures some important facts. As the linguists of the 19th century pored over data from those connected Indo-European languages, they began to understand that the biological model didn't always fit the evidence. The skin around languages was permeable, they tended to bleed into one another, and it gradually became clear that a language can only ever be a snapshot, a single slice of time in the history of a community of speakers. The attention of scholars turned from language history to language in the present. What were the relationships between different components of language? What was its structure? There seemed to be several interlocking layers. First, sounds, phonemes, like b, d, and g. Then groups of sounds, morphemes, which built words, like miss, ness, and ing. These layers were called phonology and morphology. Morphemes and words carried meaning, which was itself another layer called semantics. The order of words in a sentence followed certain rules of syntax. Those rules allow us to work out the difference between, say, Joni kicked the elephant and the elephant kicked Joni. In English syntax, the subject, often the doer in the sentence, usually comes before the verb, which precedes the object, often the thing that has something done to it.